this because I have tried to spend a bunch of money for hearings officer. My budget was inflated by like $200,000.
Yeah.
So it was pretty easy for me to show that I'm not going to spend that amount of money this year. And not relevant really because the applicant pays it back.
Yeah.
All rise. Circuit Court State Board for Coos County is now in session. Judge Bruce presiding.
You may be seated. All right, good morning to you all. We are on the record in case 20VI-05635, State v. Fur.
Swear party thing. Under the penalty of perjury, do you promise the evidence you shall give in the issue now pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yep. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, as the parties have all been through this or something like this similar before, I'll be super brief in my opening comments. Mr. Fur, it's up to the state to prove the charges against you, so I'm going to ask them to go first. When they're done, if you have questions for them or any of their witnesses, you may ask those questions. When the state has rested their case, you'll be given an opportunity to present a defense if you so choose, testify, present evidence, call witnesses. And everybody's been sworn. Are there any preliminary matters that need to be addressed before we get started?
No, Your Honor, I do have a couple information packets, one for you, Your Honor, and one for Mr. Fur that would probably be good to hand out.
We'll take a look at those, please.
And they're quite lengthy. If you would like, it'd take a few minutes to read through it.
I'll start with testimony and then probably take a short recess and look through them.
Okay.
So you may proceed.
All right. Your Honor, on November 24th in 2019, I received some information regarding some garbage being pulled off some private property on Old Seven Devils Road, which is located off of Seven Devils Road, headed out past Charleston towards Whiskey Run Beach. The report I had was the group Leaving No Trace was pulling some garbage from a timberland property and placing it in county roadway. Unfortunately, when I had received the information, I was on my way home at the time. So it would have been the following day when I returned to work. I kind of started doing some preliminary looking and research on it. I ended up calling the Coos County Road Department and inquiring if Mr. Fur's group had applied or obtained for a permit to pick up garbage on that roadway. They had not. I also, I believe it was a day later, looked on Mr. Fur's website for Leaving No Trace and had seen where you'll see the Exhibit A, the photos of the garbage that was removed and where it was removed from and where it was placed on such road. On 12/3/19, I drove out to location and saw the large piles of debris, and it roughly accounted for the numerous tires, recliner, television mattress, and box spring, along with a large Barbie car, which is also an Exhibit A, which matched the photographs that were on the Leaven No Trace Facebook page. In my opinion, at that time, the items were placed in the county right-of-way. However, I had no way to correctly measure and determine to make a positive that it was in the county right-of-way. Where it was at is approximately 1/4 mile west from West Beaver Hill Road. So if you just come off of Seven Devils Road, start down the gravel towards Whiskey Run, there's a very sharp corner, and it's on the gravel portion, so it wasn't far from the paved road itself. From working Timber Patrol, I knew that that timberland there had changed hands at least 5 years ago, and that Weyerhaeuser Corporation was the new owner of that property. So I had reached out to one of our timber deputies, Deputy Smith, who then put me in contact with a Sasha Strain, which is the contact person for Weyerhaeuser over here off of Olive Barber. She in turn confirmed that it was their property that debris came from. She also advised that Mr. Furr had previously contacted them and wanting to remove the garbage and was told no due to liability concerns. At that point, their legal department wanted him cited for criminal trespass, but that's a whole different issue that's being taken up later. I contacted the Coos County Surveyor's Office. They were able to go out to the location of the garbage and survey the road and garbage, and it's included in the packet in the far back as Exhibit C, which shows, in fact, that it was placed within county right-of-way. In August, Coos County Commissioners amended Article 4, Roads, under Section 4.1.030, Section 2, in which Mr. Furr violated the ordinance by not obtaining a permit for the work or activities conducted within the right-of-way of a road as defined under ORS 368.001, subsection 1. And, Your Honor, under the new amended section, which is also included in there, I believe it's the wording from the last few cases that was a concern, because they talked about construction and things like that. So they had changed the wording. The permit shall be required for the following work or activities conducted within right-of-way of a county road as defined in ORS 368.001, subsection 1. Removal or replacement of any approach road, structure, fixture, pipeline, ditch, cable, wire, or any other object or tangible thing was, I believe, one of the major updates that they made in August.
Just to stop you briefly, do you have a copy of the old one?
I do not on me.
And maybe I've got one. Okay, thank you. Proceed.
On, I believe it was December 24th. I have an incorrect date on the last paragraph. It would have been December 24th. Mr. Furr was coming to the courthouse, and I had learned that by looking at the court appearance dates, at which point I issued him his citation for the criminal trespass in regards to trespassing on Weyerhaeuser property, and then also the UTC citation for the county code, and which it was given to him for the initial appearance of February 5th. I have nothing further.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Furr, any questions?
I did have one question on the amendment of this. Was there any other purpose except for to stop trash cleanup to amend this ordinance?
That would be a Board of Commissioners question and not ours.
Were either of you involved in the amendment process?
No.
Any other questions?
No, that's all the questions that I have.
Okay. Just one moment. Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
In the new amended ordinance, under required right-of-way permits, if you look down further, Section 2 says, a permit is not required under this section for, and one of them, which is D, authorized activities conducted under any Adopt a Road program. It seems to state that I do not need a permit to clean up the roadsides, which this particular site, 30 foot from center, happens to go down the hill, and all the trash was removed from that area. And it is Weyerhaeuser timberland. The mention of another site and the lady that I spoke to about cleaning up the tire pit that's on Libby, I don't think has anything to do with this particular situation, so I don't know why it was mentioned. Because
I didn't hear anything about Libby.
It was mentioned that there was a lady I spoke to that told me that I couldn't clean up the dump site. and that is on Libby Lane, not on Old Seven Devils Road where I was given this ticket for. That's a separate ticket, which I'll be dealing with later.
That's a whole different case, Your Honor.
Yeah, I was wondering why it was even mentioned.
Well, okay, for my own clarification, I heard the Warehouser, it's Warehouser property on the Seven Devils property?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay, and so the Sasha Strain that was
Correct,
referred to
Your
was talking about the Seven Devils property.
Was that Seven Devils?
Yes.
So that's Warehouser property and a private citizen's property? I'm not
I
understanding that.
believe Sasha Strain was from Warehouser.
Oh, okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Really, that seems like all there is. It states right in the new amended ordinance that a permit is not required for activities conducted on the right-of-way that are under the Adopt a Road program or a few other reasons too. So I believe that's it.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, my question would be the authorized activities conducted under any adopt a road program. To my knowledge, this is not an area that was actually adopted as part of a road program. So I just wanted some clarification on what would actually be authorized under that section from Mr. Furr's point.
As far as I know, there is no Adopt a Road program in Coos County. So I'm working under the DEQ's recommendation for a community-based cleanup program, which in there they state any waterway, any property, it should be cleaned up.
So I'm not disagreeing that it should be cleaned up. However, I work with DEQ a lot through their solid waste program, and there are requirements to go through, and I don't think that the requirements have been met for that program either.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Furr? Anything you'd like to say in rebuttal? Okay. So I'm going to take Mr. Furr, I'm going to ask you to turn the phone off.
Sorry, I was looking at a file. I didn't have time to print stuff out. So.
Is there anything else you'd like to add before we take a brief recess for me to review the packet?
Well, there also is an ordinance I was trying to look up. It's Article 7, and it states, it talks about solid waste and the cleanup thereof, which pretty much seems to cover the fact that any trash that is not able to be permitted as a dump site needs to be cleaned up, which is also through DEQ. They also have an ordinance for that as well. But I know that's in Article 7 of the Coos County Ordinance.
So Mr. Furr is correct. There is an article that talks about cleanup. The proper process is to file a complaint with us, and then we notify the property owner that there is an issue, and we go through the same enforcement process. It actually doesn't give a private party the ability to clean up.
So, for instance, if it was noticed that there was a bunch of trash, tires, whatever it happens to be on Warehouser property, a private citizen could contact your department and complain that that's there, and then you would contact Warehouser. Your department would contact Warehouser.
Correct.
I would like to state that I have filed probably 15 complaints in the past few years through DEQ, and they have passed that on to the county, and I haven't heard anything from the county, and nothing has been done. I tried working with Warehouser as well, and they refused to.
Okay. We take I'd like to say brief, but this is a substantial packet. 15 minutes. Be back in 15 minutes.
rise.
May be seated. Sorry, that took me longer than I was expecting, which seems to be the case on a regular basis. Before I get into my decision, let me ask, were the materials still on the side of the road? Had they been disposed or removed to the dump?
Had it been disposed of? No.
Okay, because I had assumed, based on the pictures, that they had just been left on the side of Seven Devils.
Correct.
They have been disposed of. It was about a week later I went by to look at it, and it was all removed.
But then there was also testimony that on the 24th,
It would have been December 24th.
December 24th.
Is when I issued him the citation.
Okay.
And the debris, I asked County Road Department to go out and remove it. And that's coming up, will be an issue taken up with the criminal trespass charge, Your Honor.
Okay, so based on the amended county ordinance and the fact presented, I am finding Mr. Burr guilty of doing the work without the permit. Again, based on that amended county ordinance, there were items, objects, or tangible things from private property that were placed in the right-of-way. It's basically the same as anybody, me taking a washer and dryer or auto parts from my property and placing them on the side of the road. Now, I will say that I've got a lot of respect for what Mr. Furr is trying to accomplish. I'm just troubled by the methods, and that seems to be where the rub is here. So my question, and I'm also troubled by the lack of collaboration and cooperation with the county between what Mr. Furr is trying to accomplish, again, because I think the goals of what he is trying to do are a good thing. So I'm wondering, what can a private citizen do if there is litter on the side of the road, or if they notice refuse on private property, especially when that garbage or refuse is impacting waterways? What can a private citizen do to have that corrected?
And there's different alternatives. I mean, one is to report DEQ, Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. A lot of it is Army Corps engineers. So you got to start the process by reporting those agencies. And in turn, they move out with their methods of mechanisms of reporting to other agencies, or the process of notifying landowners, or, starting the process, getting it going. Unfortunately, these processes are not very short. They're very lengthy to get moving and started. And a lot of it is, landowners, most of them nowadays there's no teeth within the laws to get them to move, to get it done. There's fines and fine-based, but there's nothing beyond that. So a lot of them, if they have no responsibility, we'll just allow the fines to stack up, and then we're trying to figure out other methods to get them, or ways to help them, even by having DEQ supply garbage cans and things like that. So each one is kind of on its own. We have to work through each one separately sometimes to find a solution. Ms. Rolfe has had many instances where she's had to involve several agencies to clean up just one spot. And I'm sure she can tell you.
Right. So the most effective method that we have found is we've set up an enforcement group, and we meet once a month. So the cases, once somebody files a complaint with us, we go through the process of notifying the property owner there's a potential violation. We give them the 30 days to respond. If they fail to respond, we take it to the group. We work with DEQ and our other partners to see who is best to actually take the lead on the project and to get it cleaned up. There's other nonprofit groups such as Solve, there's beach cleanups and stuff. Basically, you just have to go through the process to make sure that you have the liability insurance in place, and that, property owners want to know that they're not going to be in trouble for these cleanup efforts. The other thing is the waterways is you do have to be careful of certain things that are in waterways for a long time actually become habitats. And so that's why it's important that we reach out to ODFNW to make sure that we're not actually going to hurt something rather than make it better.
So is there someone local that Mr. Furr can raise these reports or complaints to?
Yeah, we have the enforcement meeting as the fourth Thursday of every month, and it's at 1:30 p.m. in the Owen building. I would encourage them to come to the meeting and talk to the people that are involved in the process.
You said the fourth Thursday of every month?
Yes.
Okay, so and I'll finish up here quickly. Like I don't want to keep doing this. I'm sure you folks don't want to keep doing this. So anything that you can do to become compliant and legal and still carry out the work you want to do, I would strongly encourage you to do it. Those fourth Thursday of the month meetings sound like a good place to start. These cases will be fact dependent moving forward. The facts may be different with landowner permission. The facts may be different if traffic is impeded. The facts may be different if that material is put there less than 24 hours and then removed to the dump. It's going to be fact dependent moving forward. Yes?
There is the fact that in the last trial, the roadmaster said that the commissioners refused to give me a permit. That's one reason I've moved forward following DEQ's recommendations. Even under the Ordinance 7, it points out that any refuge, any trash, if it's very important to get it out of the waterways and keep the air, ground, and environment clean.
Right, and
I've been filing complaints for 4 years and trying to work with the commissioners. I will check out the meeting and really hope that it moves forward, but I'm not understanding why it hasn't been done already if they say it's that easy, because I have filed complaints with all the appropriate people and tried talking to everybody. I even had Commissioner John Sweet tell me to go on Weyerhaeuser land and clean up trash because they could get money from Weyerhaeuser, and I haven't heard anything about that.
What I heard the state say is it's not that easy. Is that it's easy to file a complaint, but then there's so many different agencies that come into it that it is a process to get going, and that's part of the reason for those fourth Thursday meetings. I read 7, and it is important. It is important, but it's got to be done the right way. It's got to be done with the right permission. It's got to be done by jumping through the right hoops to make sure everybody's covered, everything's covered, and there's no disruption. And so that's what...
Absolutely. I've been requesting that for the past 4 years from the commissioners.
And I think you got to keep jumping through the hoops. Got to keep jumping through the hoops. Now, it may be that the county amended the ordinances specifically to address this issue, but that's within their right. They can do that. And so there's new rules, and that's going to affect the outcomes of these cases as well. The new ordinance as well as the facts. Okay, it's always facts and law.
Well, the trash was still shows on their evidence that it was there is a 60-foot easement on there, 30-foot from center. So all the trash that I removed was still on the easement.
I'm still finding you guilty. I'm fairly convinced that it was coming from public land. It was placed in the roadway and left in the roadway until cleaned up. So the fine window is maximum fine $2,000, minimum fine of $225. I'm going to give you the minimum fine of $225. And we'll print out a copy of that judgment here in the courtroom to you and hand it to you. If you want to pay it right away, take it over to the clerk's window. If you need a payment plan, more than 30 days to pay, take it over to the clerk's window and get you set up on that. I would encourage you to either pay it or get on that payment plan, because if it goes to collections, they tack on fees and interest, and it gets quite a bit more expensive. Are there any other questions or loose ends? Okay, we're adjourned then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Furr, I'll print that out for you here in just a moment.
Thank you.
if you'll step forward, please.